Welcome to Delivering Miracles, a podcast to teach women like you tips and strategies on how you can have a safer pregnancy so you can bring home a healthy baby. I'm your host and your high-risk pregnancy expert, Parijat Deshpande. I can't wait to chat with you. Delivering Miracles is a proud member of Parents on Demand, a network of high-quality shows for families like yours and mine. Download the free network app on any Apple and Android devices and listen to your favorite episodes on the go. I found this quote the other day. You are a VIP, a very important person, so take care with self-care. If not you, who? If not now, when? It's a quote by Tony Hawkins. I get it. I get the point behind it. It's a good point. If not you, who? If not now, when? Who's going to take care of you if you don't take care of yourself? And if you don't do it now, when are you going to do it? It's going to be too late. Totally valid point. But I don't know about you, but quotes like this make me cringe. This word self-care, it's a term really, it's a hyphenated word. Self-care, the concept self-care, it sounds so easy, but it's just not very practical to put into practice with the way that the term is now connoted, meaning the connotation of self-care and what we think it means is so different than what is realistic for so many of us. I mean, we all know self-care is important. You know it. I know it. Got to take care of yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. We've heard it. We've seen all the Pinterest pictures. We've seen all the Instagram posts. You know how that you need to take care of yourself. You know that you have to do better. You know that you have to take time for yourself. You know that. I know that. But I also know that when you're in the thick of it, when you're so overwhelmed with life, whether it's related to fertility treatment, whether it's related to your pregnancy, whether it's related to parenting, whether it's related to being in the NICU, or it's just life. Work is crazy. Maybe you're moving. Maybe you've got family stuff going on. You have a vacation coming up. You've got a business trip coming up. Life happens. And when you're in the thick of it, you know as well as I do, all of this advice is extremely hard to put into place. And what we do is we push and we push harder and we say, I'll do it later. I'll take care of it later. I'll do it when. I'll slow down when. I can't do that right now. All the while knowing, because our bodies are screaming at us, right? You've experienced this. You're not sleeping well. Your digestion's not great. Your aches and pains are back. You're dehydrated. You're getting migraines. Your hair's falling out. Your skin's changed. You know it. You know when you have gone too far, and yet we push. I do it too. I do it too. And we do it until our bodies are screaming at us or they force us to shut down. Your pain gets so high. You finally get sick with a fever and you just can't shake it. Or you get super sick and you have to stop, or something happens that just forces you to stop, right? I've literally had my voice disappear on me. I've lost my voice on days when I needed to do podcast recordings or I had an interview scheduled because it was literally my body saying, stop it. If you won't listen to me, I will cut you at your throat so you can't speak and then you have to stop. That has totally happened to me multiple times. So what do you do then? That's what I want to talk about today, because I've been on both sides of it. I've been the one that's preaching self-care, take care of yourself. It's so, so important. And then I've been on the other side of it where it's like, you know what? Screw you, because you don't know what it's like to insert reality. So let's be real. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what self-care really can look like when you're in the thick of it. Because when things are fine, when things are relatively easy, which, I mean, when are they ever really easy? After you become an adult, like really, is it ever easy? But they're relatively easy, right? When you have the time to breathe and create this space and create this life with a pace that you want, then yes, We all know how we can take care of ourselves. But what do you do when everything's exploding around you? Like you're in the middle of a minefield. How do you take care of yourself then? The thing I want you to take away from today's episode is that self-care is not just for you. So that's really the first step to it, is self-care is not just for you. It benefits your family just as much as it benefits you, if not more. And it's in the small daily efforts that you do to refuel yourself that help you take the next step and keep going. I thought about this. It's really funny how this happened, actually. I thought about this because last week, my son has a weekly therapy appointment, and we go, right, every week. And I was walking out of the office into the parking lot, and I see this beautiful, shiny, royal blue Porsche SUV. Is it Porsche or Porsche? I always have Joey from Friends in my head when I say that. I'm gonna say Porsche. I apologize if it's supposed to be Porsche. Beautiful. It was beautiful. Okay, the sun was glistening on it. It was this like gorgeous, deep royal blue color. It had the logo or at the front of the car was just shining in the sunlight. And it just like glowed like a gem in this parking lot of this office area where the therapy office was. And I remember walking there. It was like, it had been such a long day after a very long week, after a very long month. And I think I was wearing like the shirt for the third day in a row. And like, it was just, I was feeling like a mess. I was exhausted because I hadn't been sleeping very well. And I remember thinking like, dang, that person's got it together. They must have a pretty nice life. And I didn't realize that I was just standing there staring at this car. And the kiddo was like pulling me. He's like, come on, let's go. I was entranced by this beautiful car. This gorgeous, just amazing gem that was sitting there shining in the sunlight. Thinking and imagining about what a lovely, easy life this person must have. And then out comes a mother from the same office that we just left, whose daughter had been in a session at the same time as my son. And I was shocked because I remember sitting in that session. I usually go in with him. So I'm there, and she was there with her daughter as well. And her daughter has significantly more health issues, at least that were obvious, than my son does. And she's older than my son. And I don't know her history, but from what I could see, she had a lot of challenges. And I remember thinking in the therapy office, like, oh my gosh, she is doing such an amazing job with this little girl. And she's so patient with her. And she's got so many challenges with this little girl who's, I think she's like 7 or 8. She's nonverbal, and she's just so many challenges. There was just so many things. And I remember thinking like, my goodness, she must have a really challenging life. And then here I go in the parking lot. I'm going, oh my gosh, this Porsche owner must have such a simple life. Turns out it's the same person. And I just it was such a jolt back to reality, going, wait, trying to integrate these two stories I'd created in my head of how hard of a life she must have because of her child's health issues, and how easy of a life this Porsche owner must have because of what a beautiful car they have. And it turned out it's the same person. So she saw me looking at the car, which was super awkward. And so I didn't know what to say. So I just complimented her on her car. I said it was really beautiful. And had she just gotten it washed? I don't know. I was tired. I just kind of was trying to say something in my head, it was very awkward. I don't think she felt awkward, but I was just like, oh my God, just trying to get my bearings straight. And she said, no, this is actually a car that we really take good care of. We take care of all of our cars. I didn't ask how many other cars or what they were, but she was trying to get her daughter in the car and settled in and stuff. And I was like, how do you do that? You really should have been there. It was a really weird situation in my head, especially. And I said, wow, so you didn't just get this washed? What? Like, I was blubbering some of this stuff. And so she kind of talked to me. She got her daughter settled into her car seat. And she said, well, yeah, I mean, this is something, it makes me feel good. So something to the effect of, I really hate driving messy cars. And so she said that we have a rule in our family that we don't leave a mess in the car. If there's anything that we have in the car, we pick it up when we throw it away immediately as soon as we get home or as soon as we get wherever there's a garbage can. We clean up our messes in the car immediately. We tend to park away from other cars so that we don't get any scratches on the car, which I kind of looked more closely like, oh yeah, there aren't any scratches on the car. That's really amazing. She says, they just really like their cars. It was just something that was really important to her and her husband that they had nice cars. And so they always fill up with premium gas. And I was kind of asking about maintenance because I know people who have Mercedes and Lexus and they have to go to the dealer to get the maintenance done and it's more expensive. And she said, yeah, we go to the dealer because they know the car very well. We don't have to worry about anybody making a mistake with the car. And she said, we wash it regularly. We go to the car wash. We take care of it at home. We wax it at home. And she said, my favorite thing, and she pulls out in the front of the car is this scent that she added. She's like, it just makes it smell like the ocean, but like fresh in my car all the time. So I always make sure I have that. And she was just gushing about this car. You could tell she was so proud of it. And I literally looked over to my left and a few cars down was my car that was completely destroyed. There was dust everywhere all over it. There were leaves all over it because I've had to park outside for a long time and there's construction right by where I'm parking. So there's like all the dust from the constructions on there. There's water spots all in there. And that's just the outside. If you look inside, it's a complete dump of a car. And I've been complaining to my husband and my son, we've got to clean this car soon. We've got to clean this car soon. But I haven't done it. I looked over at my car and I just was like so embarrassed. Like, oh God, I'm just going to pretend that's not my car right now. I'm not going to tell you anything about my car. We're just not going to talk about it. And she was super sweet. She talked a little bit about the car. We talked a little bit about how it drives and how they decided to buy the Porsche. And, and then it was time to go. Both the kids were getting impatient. So we left. And I walked towards my car, just like feeling so horribly ashamed about the status of it and how like it just looks like a dump. And it's not even a dump. It's a really great car. And it's not very old. I think it's like 3 years old now, 3.5 years old. It's new. It's like performing great. It's a wonderful car. I love it. But I didn't take care of it. And I was putting my son in his car seat. I was getting in the car and it just like I closed the door, stuck the key in the ignition, and it just hit me. My car is totally a reflection of my life right now. Like if you wanted a visual of what is happening internally, look at my car. And we all have this. Maybe for you, it's not your car. Maybe it's your desk where you work, or it's your bedroom, or it's your kitchen, or it's all of the above. But it occurred to me, this woman takes better care of her car than I take care of myself. And it's not because her life is easy. Her life is, from what I know and from the very little that I talked to her in the therapy office and afterwards, my perception of it is she's got her hands full of challenges. And yet she has found a way to take care of this car. And it just became this like massive metaphor in my head. And then it just kind of, the thoughts started coming of, holy cow, how she takes care of her car is such a wonderful reminder of how we can take care of ourselves in the midst of madness, right? Like, for example, it really stood out to me that one of their family rules is don't leave a mess in the car and clean up any messes immediately. And it occurred to me, how often do we do that for our own selves? When we have a pain, we have some aches come up, we have a headache, we've got some digestive issues, we've got some sleep issues. How many times do we stop and deal with it immediately, right? What does she do when she gets home? I'm fully filling in the story here, but my impression is when she gets home, even let's say it's after like a road trip, I imagine they're the kind of family that goes, okay, we're back, suitcases are in the house. Now let's go back to the car and let's clean it up. How many times do we do that with our health? No, what we do instead is, I've got a headache, let me pop a pill because I got to keep going and doing all this stuff. how often do we take care of the inside of us, where we stop and we clean ourselves out, right? I don't mean that in the, enema kind of way. I mean, like, how often do we fuel ourselves with premium fuel, right? Like the Porsche uses premium gas. How often do we do that? How often are we eating crap because we don't have time versus taking an extra 2 minutes and eating something that's premium? And premium doesn't have to be expensive. And it doesn't have to be this big gourmet meal that you take 3 hours to make. It's the difference between chips and an apple. It's the difference between coffee and a smoothie. How often do we get help from someone who really gets it? That's another thing that stood out at me, that it wasn't about the money for her. It was, what she said was, I go to the Porsche dealership because they understand the car. How many times do we get support from somebody who really gets it? And what came to mind was, if you're on bed rest, how many of you have hired an antepartum doula to help you around the house? How many of you hired a postpartum doula or a night nurse or a night nanny to take care of the baby while you sleep? Or a house cleaner to clean the house for you because they know the house and they can do it, and that's their specialty, is cleaning houses in a way that maybe you don't have the time or the patience or the energy or the interest in doing. It made me stop and think about the basics of this. Like, how often do we take care of our insides by managing our stress? Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on how hard that is to do. And I get it. Even though I do this for a profession, I get it personally. I know it's hard. How often do you do your hair? Not go to the salon and do it. I mean, like, brush it. How often do you wash your hair? How often do you wash your clothes? Go to the gym. How often do you take care of how you smell? I mean, I'm being serious here, right? When we have so much happening in our life, it's so easy to forget the basics. Self-care is not about massages and mani-pedis and retreats and spas, and holy cow, I would love to have a life like that. And I aim to have a life like that someday. But the reality is, when you're going through fertility treatment, you're going through a high-risk pregnancy, you've got a baby in the NICU, you've got a baby at home, this stuff is not always practical. Yes, it helps. I have had days where my husband clears out our schedule and he says, you're going to get a massage on this day, block it off on your calendar. Sure, it happens. And I love it. I enjoy it. But it's not sustainable, because that one massage, how long is that going to last? I'll tell you, especially when my kiddo was a toddler and he and his dad just were not getting along at all. I'd come home to screaming. And guess what happens? The effect of the massage is totally gone. It's totally gone. It's great, but it's not sustainable. So how do we bring self-care? And if you can call it self-care, you can call it something else. Refueling, maintenance, right? How do we do that? And I think for me, thinking about this woman who has this Porsche has been so eye-opening. It's really the tiny, simple things. How often do you change your shirt because you spill food on it versus wear it for the rest of the day because you don't want to do laundry? And I know it's not because you don't want to do laundry. You don't have the time to do laundry. Then why can't you hire somebody to help you with the laundry, or ask someone else in the family to do laundry? Get somebody to help you in these specific things that you can't do yourself. Why does that happen? I'll tell you, when I hear from women about self-care, there's a lot of excuses, but there's two main ones that come up a lot. And look, I've said them too. I've believed them also. And they feel very real when we say them, but there's two that come up, and they really are excuses. They're excuses that we try to convince ourselves are real so we don't have to change what we're doing. And the two are, there's not enough time and there's not enough money. Yes, that's real, but I want to encourage you to reframe that for a second and not say there's not enough, well, I don't have enough time. There's no time in the day. Or, well, we don't have money for that, or, oh, that's too expensive for us. Instead of saying it that way, say this instead. It's not what we want to spend our time on right now. Or it's not what we want to spend our money on right now. Whoa, right? Total shift in judgment right there. That's how I see it. When we put self-care on the table and we reframe the excuse to say, it's not what we want to spend our money on right now, or it's not what we want to spend our time on right now, that's when you get the real reflection of how much you're devaluing yourself. It hits me hard because it makes you then question, well, what am I spending my time on right now? What am I spending my money on right now? And the cool thing is when you start thinking of it that way, you can actually get in control and start reprioritizing if taking care of your health, mental health, physical health, whatever it is important to you. You can say, wow, this is what we did recently. Wow, we're spending a hell of a lot of money on cable. We don't even watch TV. So at some point we bit the bullet and we canceled it. And it saved us over $100 a month. And there you go. Suddenly it's not about money anymore, right? It's about priority. It's about what is the most important thing for us to spend our money on. Money, I know it's a finite amount right now. You can always make more at some point. You're working hard, your partner's working hard, and that's fine. But where is that money going? Where is that time going? There's even less time than money, right? Where are you spending that time? And is that exactly where you want to spend it? Is it really that important to you to be doing it the way that you're doing it now? Ask yourself the questions. And when you reframe it, it's really amazing what comes up and what you're able to notice. Because then it's no longer this block of, well, we don't have enough money, that's too expensive. It's no. It's not that it's that expensive. It's that you don't want to spend the money on that right now. So where are you spending the money? It's not that there's not enough time. It's you don't want to spend the time on that right now. So where are you spending the time instead? It's really eye-opening. And when you see that, then you can create the space for it if it's important to you. Now, here's the thing. Where a lot of women get stuck is they can get this far and then they go, well, but I feel so guilty for being away from my kid or for taking that money and using it on myself or for taking the time away so that my partner has to take care of whatever else so that I can do this instead. There's guilt, right? And look, the honest truth is those thoughts, those are just a story you're telling yourself. That's a story you've made up. And it sounds really real because we say it to ourselves over and over and over. So it starts to sound real and it starts to feel real. That and life and culture and whatever community has glorified the struggle that mothers, if you're going through fertility treatment, if you're going through a high-risk pregnancy, if you have a brand new baby or you've got a toddler or a preschooler or a child, it's got to be so hard. And like not sleeping is like a badge of honor. Why? Why is that the badge of honor? How cool would it be for you to be the shiny gem like that Porsche was in that parking lot that day? Why can't you be that? It's not cool to be struggling. It doesn't make you strong or awesome or anything that is related to the messages we get about how this is how it's supposed to be. No. Aim for the shiny because it benefits your family as much or more than it benefits you for you to be that shiny Porsche. But it's in the tiny, daily, small efforts that you make that refuel you to take the next step for the next day. You don't need to get a full makeover to be that shiny Porsche. It really is about cleaning out the car whenever there's a mess, taking care of the issue immediately as it arises, looking at where you're taking your time and spending your money and seeing if that's really where you want to spend it, the time or the money. Is that exactly where you want to spend it? If not, how can you change it? We tell ourselves so often, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do. Shift that language and say, I can choose this. I can't choose all aspects of it, but I can choose some of it. What am I willing to reprioritize? What am I willing to shift so that I can take care of me and ultimately take care of my partner, my baby to be, my children. Because you know this. You know that you can't take care of other people if you don't take care of yourself. You know that in your head. Your body's been screaming at you for a long time about it. So here's what you do. Pick one. Time or money. Which is the one that's stressing you out the most? Which is the one that you say the most? It's too expensive, we don't have enough money, or I don't have time for that. Which one is it for you? Pick one. And really look at exactly where your resources are going. Whether it's time or money, make a list. Where's it going? And then reprioritize it. Where can you take time away, or where can you shift finances so you can put it towards you? Because it's not selfish and you know that. That's a story you're making up in your head. And think of how nice it's going to feel when you can just take a 5-minute shower, or you can drink enough water to feel hydrated at the end of the day. We're not talking about 7-day silent retreats. We're literally talking about the day-to-day tiny things that we do that help maintain us to be the fully functioning, shiny Porsches that we can be. It is kind of ridiculous to think that we take care of other things in our life better than we take care of ourselves. You probably have something in your house that's like that. Maybe it's your car. Maybe it's your wardrobe. Maybe it's some like wedding china or some beautiful flower vase or something. Why does that thing get more care than you do? At the end of the day, and I'll be really blunt here, at the end of the day, if you died tomorrow, will you be happy with how you spent your time or your money? Or do you wish you would have taken care of yourself so you could have enjoyed your life more? So you could have taken care of your health more? So you could have reached your health and wellness goals sooner? So that you could have taken care of your family more and enjoyed that? I know you know this, right? We all know this, but we get caught up in these stories we create in our heads, the reasons why we can't do it. Time or money is the biggest one. And then it becomes also, well, how? How do I do that? It's really in the tiny, tiny details. Just like the lady said, how she takes care of her Porsche. She doesn't take it to the dealer every day. I don't think she even goes once a month. But if you do tiny little things every single day, the amount of big stuff you need to do is way less. It's way less. So what's that tiny thing you can do now? What's the one tiny thing you can do now? What can you shift in your schedule so you have allocated more time for you, or in your finances so you have allocated more money for you? And what's that tiny thing you can do? Can you delegate? Can you outsource? Can you get more help? How do you refuel yourself with premium fuel? Can you order a CSA box and get some organic produce? Can you go grocery shopping more often? Can you do grocery delivery? And that way you don't have to eat out as much because the groceries are coming to you if time is an issue, right? There's always a way around it if you are willing and open to reshifting your priorities instead of jamming something more on top of what you're already doing. Because that's stressful and that's overwhelming and that never feels good and it's not sustainable. Self-care is not just for you. That's the thing. It's not just for you. Don't do it for you if it's not working. Do it for your family because it benefits them, your partner, your children to be the children you have now. It benefits them as much or more than it benefits you. And the way to make it happen is in the tiny daily efforts to refuel yourself to help you get through another day. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. It was such a lightning moment for me to see that car and really look at my life and go, oh my God, there's so much that I need to shift right now. And I hope that that message resonated with you too. And so if you loved today's episode, I would love it if you can head over to Apple Podcasts and subscribe and leave a review for Delivering Miracles, because the more subscribers and reviews we get, the higher the podcast ranks. And then that means the more women who are going through this maddening journey of building their family can tune into Delivering Miracles for inspiration and tips and motivation and some real life lessons from a car sometimes. They can tune in and they can learn how they can get through their journey a little bit easier too.
And come say hi. I'd love to get to know you. So follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, or Facebook at Parijatdesh, Parijatdesh. Please come by, follow me there, and do say hi. I would love to meet you. It is possible. In the midst of total madness, total overwhelm, it is possible to get premium care. It's a matter of reshifting priorities and realizing that it's not just about you, that everybody benefits when you treat yourself like a Porsche. It happens. And with that perspective, it makes it a lot easier to see what the options are. Not the big stuff, it's the tiny little things that you do every single day that are going to make the biggest difference of all in your overall health. Take it one day, one step at a time. You can do this.